I was addicted to cocaine.
Okay.
And the foundation of my parents is what brought me through, because ultimately my dad owning a treatment center or starting a treatment center in Chicago helped actually save my life.
This is a journey.
Let me take you on a journey.
There will still be
The journey. The journey.
New sheriff in town, and his name is
The journey.
Journey.
This thing is bigger than Nino Brown. This is
The journey. The journey.
What is it that moved you?
The journey. The journey. The journey. The journey. The journey.
Welcome to another edition of The Journey. I'm your host, Larry Robinson, and today we have someone that I think you're really going to like. This is a brother who is a professional in discovery. But first, I got a quote for you. The only journey is the one within. The process of getting to know oneself is the true life journey. So today we have a Memphis native, but Chicago raised. Professional, as I said, in self-discovery. The consummate leader of young men. Today, on The Journey, we have Mr. Patrick O'Neal. Hey, Patrick, how you doing today?
Doing well. Glad to be here.
Good. So, man, we're going to jump right in. Tell me, your early years, I know they were in Memphis, but tell me about it. What was it like in the community that you were raised?
Well, my mom and dad met at Lincoln University. My dad is a native of Memphis. My mother is a native.
Lincoln in Pennsylvania or Missouri?
Jefferson City, Missouri.
All right.
And dad is a native Memphian, grew up in Orange Mound. My family were early settlers of Orange Mound. Mom is an Oklahomian.
Oh, wow.
And so that consisted of a heck of a combination with them both meeting and moving here after they got married. So
now, was this Black Wall Street, Oklahoma, or was
this was Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, but
okay.
People don't really know that there are a lot of black towns in Oklahoma. Meridian, Oklahoma. Langston University is where most of my family went to college.
Okay.
I have family members that still perform today in the rodeo. So that combination of those two backgrounds kind of was the base of my upbringing. Both parents were educators.
Okay.
My dad was a football coach at Leicester. Mom taught at Lincoln Junior High here in Memphis.
A lot of history there.
Yeah, a lot of history. And so my upbringing was, had a strong foundation, a lot of summer camps and, that type thing. So it consisted of a structured background.
So who outside of your parents, because obviously there's a lot of reverence for your parents and the parents had a lot of influence. Who outside of your parents had the most impact on you as a young Patrick?
Probably some family members, my a couple of uncles that worked at the Army Depot here in Memphis. And just looking at some family members, my mother's brother I call him he's a hero of mine because he was a sheriff in Oklahoma.
Okay, give him a shout out. We need to know the name.
Uncle Horace Jean. He's deceased now.
Okay,
but I would see him as a boy he taught me how to hunt.
Okay.
And when I saw other men looking up to him because of his skills as a sheriff, as a marksman, and he could sing, shoot. He's the one. His grandchildren are the ones that are now in rodeos now. So he's someone that I looked up to. And my dad was my hero. So it really wasn't a lot of outside influences initially.
Okay. Very familial.
Right.
In clothes. Okay, so as a young person, we make decisions. We make decisions that have a tremendous impact on our life looking back. Is there a decision you made as a young person that had a tremendous impact on your life that you didn't know was going to have back then?
Well, at the age of 14, me making the decision to move to Chicago with my dad. Mom and dad got divorced when I was 7.
Okay.
And it was after her finding marijuana in my room at the age of 13. And it was, it just broke loose. I mean, that lady from Oklahoma turned into somebody I had never seen. And so the vice grip tightened around the house. She was going to school, working on her double master's degree, working a second job. And here she comes home and finds out her 13-year-old
It's getting blazed up.
is getting blazed up. And I said, well, I think I need to go see Dad this summer. And that relief I thought I was going to get turned into a pre-naval experience boot camp because I ended up joining the Navy later on, but it turned into a boot camp in a good way.
Well, tell me this. How different are you from the person you dreamed you would be as a child? You know, I always thought I was going to be in the NBA.
Right.
But here I am. So how different are you from those early dreams?
You know, I'm more confident than I was. I would consider myself somewhat shy early on, but it was really a lack of confidence in a lot of ways. But my dad began to peel that onion back slowly but surely when I moved with him because he saw that inability to.
But what was the dream? Who did you think you were going to be as a child?
I didn't know. That was the confusion. That's it was like
you never wanted to be a policeman, a fireman,
not really.
Astronaut,
I played
doctor?
football. I played football.
Okay.
So there was a great love for the sport because that was my dad's background.
Okay. Who's your favorite football player?
Larry Little. The offensive guard of the Miami Dolphins teams. And I wore that number for a lot of years because that number 66 meant a lot to me. Okay. So
when did you know, as you were growing up, when did you know you were going to be okay? When it was like, okay, wait a minute, I can do this. I'm going to be all right. I'm going to be somebody my parents will be proud of.
Probably in my latter 20s, when I really said, you know what, decisions create your future.
Right.
And when I had the ability to not care about winning friends over, that began to empower me to make decisions that I control my life.
I got you. Yeah. What's your why? Why you get up every day and fight the good fight?
And that is still on the plate, to be able to influence young men, even in my job today as a service technician, the opportunity to just tell somebody, hey, you trying to fit in with the crowd, and seeing myself in them and giving them a part of my story, it makes it worth it, even when I see that light come on.
Okay.
And reading and learning something new every day is big for me as it relates to new information. Okay. Because I have a love of words and linguistics. So, exploring my inner self and finding out something new and then sharing it with someone else that's willing to listen. But I have ideas that I've yet to accomplish. And so with that, having not accomplished that yet is still on the table for me to.
Would you agree with the statement that readers are leaders?
I would agree with that, and it starts with myself.
Okay. Yeah. Now we're gonna close out this segment, but I got one question to ask you. When did you know you was a black man?
Probably
Hold on for a second. Listen, we're gonna come right back on the other side, and we're gonna find out when Mr. Patrick O'Neal realized he was a brother. So stay tuned. We'll be right back with The Journey on the KUDZUKIAN Network. Welcome back to The Journey. Listen, before we left, Mr. O'Neal was going to tell us when he realized that he was a brother. Patrick?
Yeah, the first thing that came to my mind when you asked that question was I was 13 years old.
Mm-hmm.
We were living in Whitehaven. It was probably still at that point 70% white.
Okay.
And obviously most of our people on the block were white. And some of the guys were
So
out
there was
there.
wait a minute, hold on.
Sure.
So there was a time that Whitehaven was actually white people?
Literally. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Which I guess, the
I
name.
always thought it was mostly black because, the black community is one of the largest and most accomplished black communities in the state of Tennessee. So it's kind of surprising that at one time it was all white.
Not only that, it was the county. Whitehaven was annexed into Memphis in 1968. So everything south of Brooks Road was the county.
Okay.
And so after 1968 and 69, that's when it got annexed. And so we moved from Longview Heights to Whitehaven. So the whole premise of it was that, remember, even though I was in Boy Scouts, I was going to diverse summer camps.
Right.
My mom kept me really active. There was no subservient attitude in my home because of her background in Oklahoma. They didn't deal with Jim Crow-ism in Oklahoma. I was born in 1962.
Right.
My dad was a local activist. So, and when he got divorced, it moved to a national thing in the SCLC.
Okay.
So based on that, there was no attitude of looking or having a feeling of less than.
Right.
If anything, there was somewhat of a little arrogance probably on my part.
Okay.
And so through that, I'm sure it was seen by those young men in the neighborhood that were not black. And so one day we were outside playing and a couple of them started singing, "I Need a Slave." I couldn't grasp what they were saying for a moment.
Right.
And then it hit me that, wow, okay, they're talking about me. They're trying to check me and are the friends that I was with. And I was like, wow, I'm black, And so I went in the house and made that statement, shared that with my mother. And she gave me some words of wisdom to come back with.
Right.
And so at that point, there was another level of awareness.
Wow.
Yeah.
Most brothers, especially the brothers that we have sitting right here, we have that pivotal moment where we realize, wait a minute, there's something different about me. And that's a pretty powerful story.
Right.
So let's back up a little bit.
Sure.
Childhood, tell me, family life. You said you had your mother, father, any brothers, siblings?
Yeah, my sister and myself. By my mom and dad. And I have some other brothers and sisters when my father remarried. And it was just strictly, it wasn't a step brother and sister thing. Dad didn't like that term.
Right.
So it was strictly, hey, these are my brothers and sisters. But by my mom and dad, my sister and myself. And two of the sisters are actually here in Memphis from their mom.
So were you, once your dad left, did you become more of a latchkey kid and all that?
No, actually, I was still pretty active, like I say, because mom was a 2-job working mother and went back to college to get her master's degree and her double master's.
Right.
As she continued her career in the Memphis City school system, moving up the ladder.
Okay.
So a lot of times it was me coming home, my older sister would be there, who I didn't listen to. We would kind of battle, that she's 3 years older, so she was like big sister.
Okay.
And I know it was tough on her with me because the young men I was hanging around with were at least 2 years old.
Did you take some L's back then from her? Did she go upside that head?
Yeah, she tried and she would she grabbed me once. It's rough you asking me that question. I gotta admit that she did. When I thought I was gonna come at her, she body slammed me and just kind of held me.
Oh wow.
And told me to calm down. I said, yeah, okay, I'm gonna calm down this time.
It's time.
As if I had a choice. But
that was probably a horrible memory. But let me ask you, give me a fond memory of those early days in Memphis.
The fond memories are going to summer camps at Idlewild. It's a church on Union.
Yeah.
And I mean, when I say fun, Mom would take me there for basketball camps. And those people were great.
Right.
And it was, and I grew up going to Camp Pinecrest, which is in Moscow, Tennessee.
Okay.
And it was hosted by the, I think, the Methodist Church.
Right. Okay.
And so those summer camps of doing those summer camps and those experiences and just on my block, we didn't have to leave my block growing up.
Right.
The Robinson family up the street had a pool table.
Okay.
I had a half-court basketball court in the backyard. The ping pong table was across the street. As a matter of fact, the same family who I ended up kind of clashing with that made those derogatory statements.
Right.
We played ping pong on their ping pong table up until we began to beat their father. And then that was over with.
You can't play here no more.
You can't play here anymore. So we and the YMCA, which is still on Elvis Presley and Shelby Drive,
right.
those fun memories of just having our own little world to navigate in were great, along with the summer camps, because my mother was a big proponent of staying busy and active.
Teen years. So, early teen years, I'm imagining you're in Memphis, but later teen years, you were in Chicago.
Right.
What was that like? What was that like in those years, that early years of you being in Chicago?
I went to Chicago at the age of 14.
Right.
So coming from Memphis, I'd already, indulged in experiencing marijuana.
Right.
And so going to school up there, my dad knew what school he wanted me to go to. We were in the South Shore community, and Chicago Vocational was the biggest public CVS.
Yeah.
That was the high school I went to because my brother actually came out of CVS in '75.
Right.
And so CVS, it was a shock because the high school had 5,000 students.
Yeah, that's a big one.
And here I am coming from a little high school. I was at Chickasaw.
Right.
Coming from a little junior high school, that is.
Right.
And so going to CVS was like being on a college campus.
Wow.
And coming to Chicago with a Southern accent.
Oh, yeah.
You're gonna get challenged.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Even though that's up north. That's up south.
Up south.
Exactly. Down there.
Exactly.
Everybody on the south side of Chicago seemed like they had a connection with Mississippi, Memphis, Alabama.
Same with the West Side.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Same with the West Side.
Fantastic.
So that there was some challenges, but for the most part at CVS, it was a vocational school.
Right. Right.
And students came from all over the city going there.
So tell me about the transition to adulthood. You went to CVS, you decided to go to the Navy, I presume.
Right.
What was that transition like when you had to become, a big boy?
Right. Well, the journey that really began to show itself as far as the upbringing was when I made a decision about the crowd of people that I was going to be around in high school.
Okay.
That was a pivotal decision.
Okay.
And so really the last 6 months of my senior year, I was home visiting here in Memphis, and Dad called Mom and said, look, you need to keep them down there to graduate because the teachers are threatening strike up here.
Oh.
So keep them down there these last 6 months. This was after the Christmas break.
Right.
So I ended up coming out of Farley High School.
Okay.
And so after Farley, my godfather was a coach at Mitchell Rose, William Ross. He had been there for 30 years. And I knew the colleges I wanted to go to. I knew I wanted to go play for Eddie Robinson, play football for Eddie Robinson at Grambling.
Right.
And my dad said, son, them some big boys down there. You might need to rethink that and go to a smaller college.
Right.
But I got accepted there, but I ended up at Miles College.
Okay.
And went to Miles College for 2 years. My godfather worked that out.
What made you go to the Navy?
Well, I was disenchanted with Miles College, the environment, I was still at that age of not really being sure what I wanted to do. And I took the college route because both of my parents were college graduates. We had several college graduates in the family, which it ended up showing me later on that there are other avenues. Now, my major was welding in high school, but I chose to go to the Navy after coming home after Christmas break my sophomore year.
Okay. So let me ask you, what role did Memphis play in your development and in your career? Because now you've got many years at MLGW. Mm-hmm. What role did Memphis play in that transition and your development?
Memphis played a role of just great foundation as it relates to being around a variety of people growing up in Longview Heights. Mm-hmm. There was a chef that lived next door. There was a blues singer that lived across the street. Mm-hmm. There was the first female football coach, mm-hmm. Shirley McCrae, who lived 2 doors down from me. So it was a wide spectrum of literally when people say, you know, in Memphis, you would have the sanitation worker, the lawyer, the doctor, the school teacher, all on the same block.
You had a true village. And
Isaac Hayes lived around the corner at the height of his career on Frank Street in Longview Heights. Wow. So that upbringing mm-hmm. of not having a less than attitude played dividends years later, and especially having 2 parents as school teachers.
Tell me about your career. How did you choose to? I'm gonna go to MLGW. I'm gonna apply to MLGW. You know, and then you've had a long career.
Right, so 34 plus years.
34 years.
34 plus years. 34 years in September.
Wow.
So we're looking at,
What made you stay? Well, first, why did you go there? But then what made you stay?
Well, when I got out of the Navy in San Diego, I knew that I didn't want to stay in California.
Okay.
I had spent 3 years in Hawaii mm-hmm. on that same ship. Wow. And I knew I didn't want to make the Navy a career because the money wasn't good enough.
Right.
And so when I came home to Memphis, February 87, I was in seek a job mode.
Right.
At home mm-hmm. at my mother's house. And 6 months later, I was making a decision between MLGW, fire department, and several other jobs because I had background in structural firefighting. Mm-hmm. And after being there, September 87, mm-hmm. I began to see jobs that I liked. Mm-hmm. Of course, it was based on money initially, but it was based also on conversation, mm-hmm. Talking to some guys that were in the department that I'm in now.
So there was a moment that the money didn't matter as much other than the career satisfaction. Do you remember a specific time that you can say, man, you know, I just want to do the job?
Well, after I got in the job, I like I say, the draw was the money. Mm-hmm. And then when I got in it, the interaction with people, because being a customer service technician, you're going to meet a variety of different people.
Right.
And in Memphis and in any other city, you're going to have, you know, the different levels of poverty, middle mm-hmm. class, upper middle class. And what I found out by the great men that I came up under, mm-hmm. you treat that person the same no matter what their level of scale of poverty is.
Okay, now tell me about that pop your collar moment, the moment that you mm-hmm. realized that you had great success. What's that moment? What was that moment that you, man, I did that?
Mm-hmm. Well, surviving those moments when I could have ended my career in the Navy. You know, as a result of making bad decisions.
Okay.
And coming out of that.
Okay.
But really not learning that lesson. Mm-hmm. And then again, there was a time at MLGW and in Memphis, the drug world was just a cloud over Memphis.
Okay.
And I actually got sucked into that world temporarily.
Oh, really?
Yes, I was addicted to cocaine.
Okay.
And the foundation of my parents is what brought me through, because ultimately my dad owning a treatment center or starting a treatment center in Chicago uh-huh. helped actually save my life.
Wow.
You know, so there was actually a 2-year stretch, what they call an epidemic now, because it's not actually affecting Black men and women.
Right.
End up affecting me, mm-hmm. but because of that upbringing, great parents that continue to communicate in spite of being divorced, actually gave me the foundation to come out of
Do
it.
you remember the moment you said, enough's enough, I can't do this no more?
Yeah, when I saw it affecting my life and my everyday existence as it relates to changing my attitude, me being a person that I didn't even recognize in the mirror. Yeah.
Any regrets, any big regrets that you would point back to and say, man, I shouldn't have done that?
I would probably say not taking more risk early.
Risk like what? What do you mean?
Risk like even finishing college. I don't regret that because the Navy ended up being that. You know, those college years was spending that.
Right.
But just maybe taking some other risk as to whatever dream I had, real estate investing, starting a foundation, which I'm reinvigorated to do.
Tell
again.
us about your foundation real quick.
Well, the initial thing that we started, which is part of what you talked about, was I did a male initiation weekend with New Warriors.
Okay.
And New Warriors was started by some white men that were psychologists, right?
Okay.
But out of that, after we went to the Million Man March in '95, those of us that were a part of that organization started Inward Journey.
Okay.
And the Afonte tribe, African Americans forming a new and tribal existence. So what we found out was the only people that can heal people of color are other people of color that have done that work. Right. That inner child work. Wow. That soul work, that Sankofa work. Okay. And it doesn't, and a lot of black men in particular needed other black men to mirror back to them that it was safe to do that.
Fantastic.
Okay.
This is a good transition because I want you to look directly in that camera right there and leave these young men, specifically black men, with a piece of Patrick O'Neal.
Well, I would tell those young black men to find other men that they admire or want to ask questions of. Don't be afraid to step to that man or woman and ask them exactly what you want to ask them. It's happened with me all the time. We're waiting on you to ask the questions. And sometimes we are as fearful as you asking the question to give you the right answer. I would tell you, don't be a follower of who you think your friends are. Step outside the box and own who you think you are. And even if you're wrong, you're right because you're not following the wrong person. So follow your dreams, learn to read, don't be afraid to ask questions, and above all, don't be afraid to say, I don't know.
That's beautiful. Listen, we started this show with the only journey is the one within. The process of getting to know oneself is life's true journey. This is Larry Robinson for Mr. Patrick O'Neal, the KUDZUKIAN Network. You've been watching The Journey on the KUDZUKIAN Network. Thank you. Come back again. Thank you to our partner, the Grand Boulé of Sigma Pi Phi Fraternity, Delta Chapter. To hear more incredible stories like this, be sure to download the KUDZUKIAN app from the App Store or Google Play, or check out the Journey Memphis podcast on all your major podcast providers. Also, check us out on the KUDZUKIAN Network.